Hey everyone, I'm going to just do a quick video on how to set up your SSID and how to get started when setting up your Meraki MR33, MR42. This doesn't really matter what type of MR you have, pretty much it's all the same. The dashboard is always the same. Setting up the MR is pretty the same. It just really depends on certain options that you want, like encryption type, encryption key, but it's basically the same content. So let me just jump into my PC here and log into your dashboard. So the first thing you want to do is go to account.meraki.com or you can just Google Meraki dashboard. So this is for some of my customers that are out in Toronto that have purchased the equipment from us, but that hasn't provided or that hasn't purchased our professional services to do the installation. Sometimes they just want to do a quick install and test for setting up the SSID to see if the trial or demo works. So let's log in. I'm going to come over here to the dashboard. I'm going to come over here to the dashboard and I'm going to just click on my account here. So here in your client dashboard, what you're going to see is the organization that you're working with, which is yours, the network that you created. So you could create a new network, but let's just use this called JS Home. And then over here underneath wireless, so when you've purchased an MR series access point, you will have this option wireless. If you only purchased a teleworker gateway or an MX, you'll see security appliance. If you purchased an MS switch, then let me just go to one of my other clients here. So if you purchased an MS switch, let's go here, you'll actually see their switch over here. So you'll see a switch, wireless, and then if they had an MX security appliance, you'll actually see security appliance. So let me just go back to my network here. So when you go to set up your MR33, what you'd want to do is first go to SSIDs. Well, first, actually, you want to make sure that you have your access points. Over here, you'll actually see the list of access points that are within your network. Green meaning it's great, it's online. Red meaning there's something wrong with it, it's offline. So on the MR access point, when you actually physically look at it, orange, it's connecting, getting data. Red, it's either dead in the water or offline. Blue, there's a link to it. So with the Meraki dashboard here, you can click on it and actually see some statistics of it. And you can see which users are connected, the signal strength, you could ping them, the SSID, how long they've been associated for, and the usage that they're being downloading, and the connectivity for the last day. So I guess this is why Cisco Meraki is so popular, just because the dashboard is just so easy to use and everything is in your fingertips. So prior to setting up access points in the past, you'd always be using an Excel spreadsheet, a Word sheet, writing down the MAC address, writing down the SSID. But with Meraki, everything is just so easy to use and everything's very well documented. And there's always just one place to go to, which is the dashboard, to see everything. You could see over here, that you're running 2.4 or 5 gigs. Sorry, let me just turn on my little pointer so everyone can see this. But you can see that I'm running 2.4 or 5, what kind of profile it has, the LAN IP, the public IP, so you don't have to do what is my IP, the gateway and the DNSs. You could see if it's running full duplex, and there's just so much more that you can do with this. So I'm going to quickly set up this SSID before I ramble on and just comment and say how great Meraki is, but let's go to SSIDs. And right now you can see that I have 2 enabled. So now what I'm going to do is actually create another SSID. So I could go to show all my SSIDs. And then here you'll see unconfigured, unconfigured, unconfigured. So what I'm going to do is just rename one, and I'll just call this is the SSID name, so I'm just going to call it test. right? Then I'm going to edit settings. Now this is going to bring me to my unconfigured SSID, which I named, which is test. So here is where you want to actually set up your network access. Basically, this is the encryption part. So do you want it open, which is no password, which I don't recommend, pre-shared key, WEP or WPA2. So this is where you can put in your key. And then your encryption mode, what I'd recommend if you're new with setting up wireless networks, select this to make sure that you have WPA2 and WPA1, just so that the pre-shared key isn't just restricted to WPA2, but if you know what you're doing and you know that all your clients are going to be selecting WPA2, then fine. But majority of customers that are running guest networks, they're not sure what they're going to pick, so they'll just either pick WPA1 or WPA2, so your technical support team doesn't have such big headaches getting a lot of questions. Splash page is actually, if you wanted to get like a guest login page, you can do that. It's very easy. I'll do another video on how to set up a splash page. But when we work with restaurants, we actually do a radius server where you can collect social analytics and get someone to log in with their Facebook account or their Instagram or their Google Plus, so the owner of that restaurant can actually get analytics, data, demographics, and kind of retarget and remarket to them. So here's an important thing, which is the NAT mode. So if you had an existing network, let's say you were on a 192.168 and your point of sale or your Windows server or your Staling server or your WMS server was on a 192 network, then you'd want to make sure that it's on a bridge mode. So basically this is going to make clients part of your existing LAN. So let's say your point of sale system or your WMS server is on 192.168.104. whatever. They will bridge and be transparent onto the same network so everyone could talk to each other. So this really depends if you have one VLAN, one flat VLAN or multiple VLANs, but this will become part of the LAN. Now the second option, which I see most customers will select, which is this, is NAT mode. Now what this will do, it will use Meraki's internal DHCP address scheme, and it'll give you something like 10.0.0.1 or .2, and it'll be kind of like separated from everything else that you have on your network. So this will kind of give you just the basic wireless when you connect to that SSID. So if you have an existing network and your access point is getting DHCP from your router or your Windows firewall, select this. If you're not sure, select this. But I would say, it's a toss-up between, if it's a guest network and you're just using it for guest Wi-Fi, use this to be on the safe side. If it's connecting to your existing network, click on the bridge. Now VLAN tagging, more advanced stuff, I'm not going to go through it. Content filtering you can do, but here's another important thing: wireless options. I would say if you're in a congested environment where you're not too sure if there's a lot of congestion on the 2.4, I would select 5 gig only, because with 5 gigahertz you have a lot cleaner air, meaning you don't have a lot of neighbors that are running 2.4, which will clog your RF spectrum and then your users will complain. But if you know that your 2.4 band is clean, then you can use it. But I just use 5 gig. But just keep in mind that with 5 gig, you have a lot more bandwidth that you can use. You can download more if your internet pipe is big enough. But the coverage drops a lot with 5 gig. So 2.4, you have more coverage area with less bandwidth. But with 5 gig, it's the opposite. Less coverage, higher bandwidth. So it's a matter of, did you do a survey? Can that one access point cover all of the area that you need? So Now that we set up the SSID, what you want to do is you just click on Save over here in the bottom, or down to the bottom over here. Now we're going to go back to SSIDs, and we're going to go over to show all of my SSIDs, and then it was number 7 actually, so we actually had to call it test again because we already saved the WPA encryption settings, and just click on Save. Now what you can do is just go back here. Well, I'm already in the SSIDs. These are just sample ones that I've created, but let's show them all. And you come back here and you enable. Click on Save. And that is it for setting up the very basic SSID. It's very, very easy within Meraki. It only gets complicated when you're just securing and locking down your network, when you're dealing more with enterprises, and if you're dealing with warehouse management systems like I do, you really want to make sure that your VLANs are segmented properly, whether on trunk or access, setting up the firewall rules, making sure everything routes to it, and then also setting up your RF profiles, because sometimes auto RF is not the best scenario to set up your RF clients. Sometimes setting up to manual is a lot better, and this just really depends on the type of survey that you did. You know, did you do your survey at 50%? Does auto RF work for you? Yes or no? But this also has to do with the type of client and the client that's running on the RF handheld. You know, is there a thin client or a thick client, and so on. So that's just the basics. I could get into more detail of VLANs and securing your RF network, your wireless network in the future. So if you like the video, please comment below with any questions that you have. I can get into more detail, like I said, with you know, the MX firewalls, the MS. But right now, this is just setting up the basic MR wireless SSID in Meraki. So again, comment below with any questions that you have, and I'll see you in the next video.